This week on the Downsized News, a leadership earthquake rocks Novo Nordisk as the company behind Ozempic and Wegovy replaces nearly its entire board in a battle with its own controlling foundation and brings back a familiar face to steady the ship. Plus, Novo scores a rare legal win in Europe, protecting its oral semaglutide patent, even as the global fight over affordability continues. We'll also look at PepsiCo's surprising new lineup of protein-packed and no artificial products built for the post-GLP-1 world, the first scientific tool to measure food noise, and why Eli Lilly's new India deal could reshape access to tirzepatide worldwide. All that and the latest study showing how GLP-1 medications may protect your heart even beyond weight loss.
Welcome back to the Downsized News. It's Monday, October 27th, 2025, and we're glad you're here. I'm Lorraine Durham, and I've lost over 50 pounds using the GLP-1 medication tirzepatide. This adventure has changed my life in ways I never imagined.
And I'm Christopher Durham. I've lost 100 pounds with GLP-1s, and this is where we talk about what that's really like, the wins, the hard days, and the science behind it all. If you're new to our channel, welcome. And if you've been with us for a while, welcome back. We're not doctors, and this isn't medical advice. We're just sharing what we've learned along the way.
We post new videos every day to help you stay informed, encouraged, and supported. So if you haven't already, please go ahead and hit that like button and subscribe to our channel. You won't want to miss what's ahead. In story number one, the leadership earthquake at Novo Nordisk just got bigger. The Danish pharmaceutical company behind Ozempic, Wegovy, and Rybelsus announced that it will replace its chairman, vice chair, and 5 independent directors after a clash with its controlling shareholder, the Novo Nordisk Foundation. An extraordinary general meeting is set for November 14th when shareholders will vote on a new board lineup, one that represents a full reset of Novo's corporate leadership. Among the proposed new faces is a very familiar one, Lars Sørensen, who served as Novo Nordisk's CEO from 2000 to 2016 and later became chairman of the foundation. Sørensen is now expected to return to the company as chairman of the board, serving a transitional term of 2 to 3 years. Alongside him, the foundation is proposing Cees de Jong, chair of the biotech firm Novo Nordisk, as vice chair. In a statement, Sørensen said, "The foundation believes it is time to bring in new competencies and perspectives to the board to support Mike Dudestar and his leadership team. The foundation, which controls most of Novo's voting shares, wants to accelerate renewal and regain the company's lost momentum in the global obesity drug race." The outgoing chair, Helge Lund, confirmed that his board and the foundation could not reach a shared vision for the company's future. After thorough deliberation, Lund said, the board concluded it was in the best interest of the company and its shareholders to convene an extraordinary meeting to elect new members. The timing of this governance overhaul couldn't be more delicate. Novo Nordisk has been at the center of the worldwide GLP-1 boom, but has also faced slowing growth, months of supply shortages, and a 56% drop in share price over the past year. Earlier this summer, the company announced plans to cut 9,000 jobs worldwide, about 1 in 9 of its employees, as part of a restructuring effort aimed at saving roughly 8 billion kroner, that's around $1.2 billion, by 2026. Many of those layoffs have already begun in Denmark and across its manufacturing network. The cuts were introduced by Novo's new CEO, Mike Dudestar, who stepped into the role in July after the foundation pushed out longtime chief executive Lars Jorgensen. But so far, Dudestar has yet to publish a detailed turnaround plan explaining how Novo intends to stabilize operations, rebuild supply reliability, or reclaim its lost share of the obesity market. Analysts and investors have been pressing for answers. In conference calls, company officials have pointed to cost savings, factory expansion, and commercial optimization. But insiders acknowledge that Novo still lacks a clear growth roadmap. For the foundation, which has spent decades carefully balancing its charitable mission with its commercial oversight, the leader's shakeup is meant to speed things up. Sørensen will temporarily step down from his role as chair of Novo Holdings, the foundation's investment arm, to personally guide the transition. It's an unusual move, essentially sending the foundation's top leader back into the company to steady the ship. Sørensen says his top priorities are to support Downsized's management team, stabilize operations, and help select the company's next long-term chair to lead Novo into the 2030s. But his remarks on the company's current position were strikingly candid. Novo Nordisk operates in a new reality, Sørensen said. We must meet rising global demand while competing in a more dynamic, consumer-driven obesity market. He also called the recent layoffs a huge failure, admitting that the company had grown too quickly and had been too slow to adapt to market shifts, including the surge of telehealth prescribing and the persistence of the U.S. compounding market. For patients, the headlines may feel far removed from daily life, but these boardroom changes matter. They influence how quickly Novo can produce medication, how it prices these products, and how soon oral or next-generation GLP-1 treatments may reach the market. Sørensen says his ambition is to return Novo to business as normal as soon as possible, but in the modern GLP-1 era, where demand is global, competition fierce, and patients impatient, normal may no longer exist. For now, all eyes will be on the November 14th meeting in Denmark and on whether a returning leader from Novo's past can chart a steady path into its future.
So it amazes me how complex this whole corporate structure is. So there's Novo Nordisk, the actual company that we know
that
of.
Produces Ozempic and Wegovy.
Right. The manufacturer, they do the innovation. There's Novo Foundation, which
the do-gooder arm.
Right, so they give away stuff, and they're the primary owner. That they own the shares mostly of the
company.
Then there's Novo Holdings,
which is just investing their billions they're making.
Just out there buying stuff, investing stuff. So it all interacts and gives you tax shelters and breaks. And
I mean, I understand that their share price has dropped, and I don't understand why, if they're trying to prevent supply shortages like we had in the past, why are you going to lay off 9,000 people? If you're making billions of dollars per quarter, you're still wildly profitable. Are they just upset because Eli Lilly's stock price is better and they're making slightly more?
It's hard to say where the people are being laid off. They haven't really been terribly transparent about it. So sometimes companies just have people in the wrong places. Right? They have too many in this department and they need a different number in this department.
Worldwide, I don't know how many. Well, they said 1 in 9, I guess, were laid off. It sounds substantial.
It is substantial, but it's just hard to say. And there's no plan that has been announced out of Downsized. So we don't know. There's really not a robust innovation pathway that's coming out. You've got Wegovy in the pill, a few things later on, but Eli Lilly will have 2 or 3 drugs out before they get their next major drug out.
I just don't understand what they're trying to accomplish with these layoffs and all this moving pieces. They're wildly profitable.
True.
What else do you want from them? I mean, really, you want them to have a better stock price or a better increase in stock price than Eli Lilly? Well, maybe you need to come out with a new drug or something like that. I don't know.
Lower your prices and sell more drugs.
Lower your prices. That's one way to kill compounding in the U.S.
That's right. And story number 2, and guess what? It's also about Novo Nordisk, and my guess would be it'll help their stock price a little bit. For years, the story of semaglutide, the active ingredient in Ozempic, Wegovy, and Rybelsus, has been one of global demand, scientific innovation, and increasingly courtroom drama. This week, that story took another turn in Munich, Germany, where the European Patent Office upheld a crucial Novo Nordisk patent protecting the tablet form of semaglutide. The ruling represents a significant legal victory for the Danish drug maker, which has spent much of the past year defending its intellectual property portfolio against a growing wave of generic challenges. At the center of the dispute is European patent EP 374611B1, which covers a specific formulation that allows semaglutide to be absorbed more effectively when taken orally. The scientific foundation behind Rybelsus, Novo Nordisk's pill version of semaglutide used to treat type 2 diabetes. Several opponents, including generic manufacturers and what are known as straw men acting on behalf of undisclosed companies, had argued that the patent lacked an inventive step, essentially claiming that Novo's formulation was not novel enough to deserve continued protection. But a panel led by Stephanie Schull at the European Patent Office disagreed. ruling that the patent was valid and should stand. The decision offers a rare piece of good news for Novo Nordisk, which has seen several of its other semaglutide-related patents revoked in recent months. Earlier this year, the European Board of Appeals struck down multiple Novo filings related to oral administration and long-acting GLP-1 peptides, rulings that encouraged generic drug makers like Teva and Hexal to step up their own challenges. This time, however, Novo's legal team, led by British patent firm D. Young & Co., which has represented the company for years, successfully defended EP111. The team worked closely with Novo's in-house counsel, Birgit Peterson, and the ruling means that for now, the company maintains control over one of the most important pieces of its GLP-1 portfolio. The victory doesn't close the book entirely. Opponents still have the option to appeal, and similar challenges are pending on other patents tied to semaglutide formulations. But the ruling does help Novo protect a core part of its franchise, especially the tablet technology that allows the drug to survive the digestive system and enter the bloodstream effectively. For patients, the implications are mixed. On one hand, patent protection ensures stability and quality and supply for a medication that has transformed diabetes and obesity treatment. On the other, it also delays the arrival of lower-cost generics that could expand access, something millions of people are hoping for. Semaglutide, whether injected as Wegovy or swallowed as Rybelsus, remains one of the most successful medications in the world, but it's also one of the most expensive, a reflection of both pharmaceutical innovation and market exclusivity. So while Novo Nordisk celebrates this legal win, the broader battle over affordability continues. Across Europe and the United States, policymakers, insurers, and patients are still asking the same question: when will breakthrough medications like these become truly accessible? For now, the answer, like the patent, remains in Novo's hands. And it comes at a great time for them because obviously they're preparing to launch the higher versions of Rybelsus, Wegovy, to be able to combat the upcoming orforglipron from Lilly.
Yeah, it just has to be able to make it through the digestive system and into the bloodstream, right? That's the trick. In story number 3, if you hear the name PepsiCo and picture a can of cola, you're not alone. But the truth is, PepsiCo is a lot more than soda. It's one of the biggest food and beverage companies in the world, the parent behind everything from Gatorade, Quaker Oats, and Tropicana to Doritos, Lay's, Cheetos, and even Starbucks bottled coffee. In many ways, PepsiCo's portfolio looks more like a snapshot of the modern American pantry than a single brand. And this fall, that pantry is getting a makeover. When PepsiCo reported its third quarter earnings earlier this month, the numbers were mixed. Profits down about 10%, but sales holding steady. The real story wasn't the balance sheet, though. It was what's coming next. A wave of new products built around protein, prebiotics, olive oil, and the promise of no artificial ingredients. For people using GLP-1 medications like Zepbound, Mounjaro, Wegovy, and Ozempic, this shift hits close to home. As our appetite and portion sizes change, the focus turns to what's in the food rather than how much of it we can eat. We start reading labels differently. Suddenly, protein, fiber, and hydration matter more than calories or cravings. And PepsiCo, it seems, is paying attention. Among the company's new releases are several functional drinks. Propel Protein Water, blending 20 grams of whey protein with electrolytes and 3 grams of fiber. Starbucks Protein Coffee, packing 22 grams of protein and 5 grams of prebiotic fiber with just 2 grams of sugar. And a reformulated muscle milk, smoother and made from ultra-filtered milk, offering up 42 grams of protein. Tara Glasgow, PepsiCo's global chief science officer, summed it up simply: it's not just how much protein you consume, it's when and what type. For GLP-1 users, that timing can be crucial. Smaller, protein-rich snacks and drinks throughout the day help preserve muscle, keep energy steady, and support healthy digestion, all while working with, not against, the medication's effects. Hydration is also taking center stage. PepsiCo's CEO, Ramon Laguarta, said the company is promoting superior hydration across its portfolio, pointing to new electrolyte formulations that aim to hydrate faster and longer. Propel's retail sales have more than doubled since 2019 and are expected to top $1 billion in 2025, remarkable for a product that started as a quiet spin-off of Gatorade. Even the snack aisle is changing. Doritos and Cheetos are about to go NKD, that's naked, as in no artificials, colors, or flavors. What will they be made out of? Lay's and Miss Vicky's will soon feature avocado and olive oil. They're still snacks, but perhaps a little less guilty and a little more mindful. For GLP-1 users and anyone trying to eat with purpose, this broader movement across big food reflects something deeper, a recognition that America's relationship with food is evolving. We're not just eating to fill up anymore, we're eating to fuel up, stay strong, and to feel well. PepsiCo may be one of the world's largest food companies, but its message is personal. The future of food isn't about indulgence versus restriction. It's about balance, about giving people choices that fit the way they live now. Whether that's a protein coffee on the go, a better-for-you chip on movie night, or simply knowing that a global giant is finally starting to think small, one ingredient, one label, one person at a time.
So it's the snack and the soda industry, right? The salty snacks and the sweet sugary soda industry struggling to stay relevant.
I mean, I haven't drank full strength Pepsi in 30 years.
And honestly, they want you to believe you still need to snack. The reality of these medications is you
don't snack, right?
You can if you want to, and if it fits into your eating plan, certainly, but you just don't need to snack.
No, and I can't imagine a Dorito without artificial everything and adding protein, and that's just that's not going to be for me, but maybe it'll be good for some people.
Perhaps. Story number 4, if you've ever lived with that constant mental hum about food, the planning, the craving, the counting, you already know what researchers now call food noise. I've done a couple of videos on it before. If you want to check it out, they're out there. For many people living with obesity, it's not just a passing thought, it's background static that can make daily life feel crowded, even exhausting. Now, for the first time, that experience can be measured, not guessed at, not dismissed, but quantified and studied. This week, Ro, a nationwide telehealth provider, announced a new scientifically validated tool called the Ro Allison Indiana Durinder Food Noise Inventory, or RAID-FN scale. The brief questionnaire helps identify whether someone experiences food noise, how often it occurs, and how disruptive it feels. The project was years in the making and involved some of the top names in obesity research, including Dr. David B. Allison, director of the Children's Nutrition Research Center at Baylor College of Medicine. Working alongside psychologists, nutrition scientists, and obesity medicine experts, the team first agreed on a shared definition of food noise and then built a way to measure it. The result is a 3-part framework that assesses preoccupation, how often thoughts of food appear, persistence, how long they stay, and dysphoria, how upsetting or harmful they become. It's the first validated scale to give doctors and researchers a clinical language for something patients have described for years. Dr. Allison said the work brings needed rigor to a topic that's often been more anecdotal than scientific. He said, food noise has become an important concept in obesity medicine, but without a standardized tool, we've lacked reliable data. The RAID-FN changes that, and it lets us study the experience in a meaningful way. Ro's co-founder and CEO, Zach Ritano, said the scale was born out of conversations with patients who often felt unheard. He said, people tell us every day that persistent food noise makes it harder to lose weight, harder to reach health goals, and harder to live fully. This tool helps patients and providers understand it and manage it together. For many GLP-1 users, people taking medications like Zepbound, Mounjaro, Wegovy, or Ozempic, that quieting of food noise has become one of the most profound effects of treatment. When it fades, life gets quieter, calmer, and a little freer. The new scale is already being used in research and clinical settings. Ro has integrated it into its nationwide telehealth platform, and researchers like Dr. Ariana Chow at Johns Hopkins University are using it in clinical trials comparing tirzepatide to placebo and a drug called lisdexamfetamine for binge eating disorder. The RAID-FN will also serve as an endpoint in several other upcoming obesity trials. Ro will present its first large-scale data at Obesity Week 2025 in Atlanta, Georgia. We'll be there. I'm actually trying to get an interview with the team, they're examining how food noise affects quality of life and which populations experience it most intensely. It's also worth noting that Ro has been making headlines for another reason. Earlier this year, tennis legend Serena Williams joined as a spokesperson and confirmed she's using a GLP-1 medication as part of her health routine. The partnership brought massive visibility to both Ro and the broader conversation around medical treatment of obesity. But it also underscored Ro's growing ambition. The company is clearly positioning itself not only as a telehealth provider, but as a leading brand in the expanding GLP-1 space, blending patient care, research, and increasingly marketing. For patients, though, the takeaway is simple. Food noise is real, you and I know that, and now it can be measured. And while pharmaceutical breakthroughs often get the headlines, sometimes progress looks like this, a thoughtful collaboration that helps science catch up to the human experience. Because for millions of people who've lived with that constant mental chatter around food, having a name for it and a way to study it is a quiet victory all its own.
So it looks like it's a series of questions,
yeah,
right?
Is.
It's a series of maybe 50 questions.
I don't even think it's that many, but
describing your how often the food noise is
it's a diagnostic tool,
interrupting your day. I mean, if it helps somebody.
Well, and I think
great.
as we look forward, I mean, we know the GLP-1 and the GIP don't react the same, right? They do two different things. Theoretically, that GIP should help with food noise. Well, as we get the glucagon and retatrutide, as we get the amylin, if you as a patient can do one of these and it's another diagnostic tool your doctor has, they may be able to prescribe a better medication for you.
Maybe, and if so, that's great. I think maybe my overall takeaway from it is just that doctors now recognize what we call food noise as a real thing, a real problem, and what for years, we all battled and didn't even know we were battling it. Now we can talk about it, describe it, and analyze it.
Yep.
In story number 6, in a move that could reshape the global obesity treatment market, Eli Lilly has struck a deal with Indian pharmaceutical company Cipla to market its blockbuster GLP-1 medication under a new name in India, a partnership that highlights both the drug's extraordinary demand and the worldwide race to expand access. Under the agreement announced Thursday, Lilly will manufacture the medication, while Cipla will distribute it and market it under the brand name Urpeak. It's the same medication and same device, a once-weekly pre-filled injector pen, identical in design to Lilly's Mounjaro Quick Pen, already known to patients around the world. According to the companies, Urpeak will be available. How do they come up with these names? Anyway, how do you get from Mounjaro, Zepbound to Urpeak?
They all have different regulatory bodies.
And only in India this will be available, right? Urpeak will be available in 6 dose strengths: 2.5, 5, 7.5, 10, 12.5, and 15 milligram. Same as Mounjaro and Zepbound, and will be priced the same as Mounjaro. The arrangement allows doctors in India to prescribe the same active ingredient, tirzepatide, under a different brand name, giving patients more flexibility in how they access treatment. Lilly first launched Mounjaro in India earlier this year, introducing low-dose vials in March for type 2 diabetes and obesity, followed by regulatory approval for the injector pens in June. Within months, sales more than doubled, a reflection of both rising demand and India's growing middle-class interest in medically managed weight care. Tirzepatide belongs to the class of drugs known as GLP-1 receptor agonists, which help regulate blood sugar and slow digestion, allowing patients to feel fuller longer. The medication is widely recognized for its powerful impact on both diabetes control and weight loss, though availability and affordability remain persistent challenges across much of the world. By teaming up with Cipla, one of India's largest and most trusted pharmaceutical companies, Lilly is expanding its reach into one of the world's most populous and price-sensitive healthcare markets. For Lilly, the partnership offers a way to build brand recognition and scale distribution without lowering prices or losing control of its manufacturing process. For Cipla, Urpeak represents an entry into one of the fastest growing segments in modern medicine, obesity and metabolic health, with a therapy that already carries global name recognition. While your peak will cost the same as Mounjaro, the collaboration could set the stage for future local production, lower cost versions, or even broader market competition. Analysts say this model, global manufacturing paired with local branding, could become a blueprint for expanding GLP-1 access in emerging economies. For patients, though, the story is simple. Another door is opening. As obesity rates climb in India and across Asia, and as the demand for effective treatment outpaces supply, partnerships like this one could make a meaningful difference in getting proven therapies into more hands in more places more quickly. And while your peak may be a new name, the science behind it, tirzepatide's dual action on GLP-1 and GIP receptors, remains the same. The collaboration underscores just how far-reaching this class of medicines have become, from the clinics of Indiana to the hospitals of Mumbai, and how the next phase of GLP-1 story will be not just about innovation, but about access.
So, story number 7, a Pennsylvania pharmacy at the center of the booming GLP-1 compounding market is facing serious penalties after state investigators found it was producing injectable weight loss medications in uninspected facilities. Boothwyn Pharmacy, which I have never heard of, located in Chester County's Kennett Square, has been fined $1 million and placed on probation by the Pennsylvania State Board of Pharmacy after admitting to multiple violations of the state's Pharmacy Act. According to the state's investigation, Boothwyn had been compounding GLP-1 medications in uninspected rooms inside its main building, producing more than 1,000 doses a day, then moving those vials to a second unlicensed facility for packaging and verification. The second site investigators found had never been inspected or approved for sterile drug production. The pharmacy, which has operated since 1977, entered into a consent agreement with the state. It admitted to violating pharmacy regulations and agreed to pay the remaining balance of the $1 million fine within a year. Boothwyn must obtain full inspection approval for all compounding spaces and provide proof of compounding pharmacy accreditation from the National Association of Boards of Pharmacy before its probationary status can be lifted. The case underscores how the rapid growth of GLP-1 medications has outpaced regulation in some corners of the market. With demand surging and brand name drugs often in short supply or prohibitively expensive, many patients have turned to compounding pharmacies for lower cost alternatives, but that expansion has also drawn increased scrutiny from state and federal authorities over quality control and safety standards. Dr. Mike Siriglino from the Perelman School of Medicine at the University of Pennsylvania told Fox 29 News that compounding is legitimate, and as long as it's done by reputable people who are licensed, know what they're doing, and operate in regulated and inspective sites. Boothwyn Pharmacy insists it has taken corrective steps. In a statement, a company spokesperson said the pharmacy has strengthened processes and staffing, passed a follow-up state inspection, and been certified for state operations by an independent validation firm. The spokesperson also noted that no patient injuries or adverse effects have been reported. Still, the fine reflects a clear warning from Pennsylvania regulators. Secretary of the Commonwealth Al Schmidt said the action demonstrates that protecting the health and safety of Pennsylvanians is a top priority and sends a strong message to licensees who failed to follow the law. State records show that the Department of State conducted 4 separate inspections between November 2024 and March 2025. During those visits, Boothwyn's staff did not disclose that compounding was taking place in the unlicensed building. Now, under the consent agreement, Boothwyn must complete a checklist of corrective actions, pay the full penalty, undergo new inspections, and earn national compounding accreditation before it can apply to have its license fully restored. For patients, the story is another reminder of why transparency and oversight matter. Compounded GLP-1 medications can be safe and effective when made by properly licensed pharmacies under sterile, inspected conditions, but when corners are cut, the risks rise quickly. As the popularity of GLP-1 medications continues to soar, regulators and pharmacies alike are being forced to adapt, and for patients seeking affordable care, trust in the process may prove just as important as the treatment itself. So, we've said this over and over again. Follow the rules, make safe medication, whether it's a compounder or I think last week we talked about Novo Nordisk and its facility being fined as well, right?
It had some cat
hair and all kinds of other things.
Yeah, so compounding pharmacies are regulated by the state. They still have to follow the rules. they're licensed by each state. So if they're not following the rules, they're going to get fined. They're going to get, whatever penalties.
$1 million.
$1 million.
That's not messing around.
I mean, have we heard a compounding pharmacy get penalized $1 million before?
If so, I don't remember.
I certainly haven't heard one. I don't know if Pennsylvania is just being a little bit more aggressive, or if these violations were really so egregious.
I mean, the problem is they were doing it in a secondary facility they weren't even revealing, that had not been cleared.
I mean, that's just wrong. That's just a blatant rule violation. You can't.
Well, they're injectables. You just can't mess around with a sterile environment. You get stuff in an injectable, people die. Right. Period. Yeah. Don't do it. Follow the rules.
A new study out of Boston suggests that GLP-1 medications, the same drugs transforming the treatment of obesity and diabetes, could also be life-saving for millions of people with heart failure. Researchers from Mass General Brigham, a major nonprofit health network, analyzed real-world data from more than 90,000 patients living with obesity, type 2 diabetes, and a form of heart failure known as HFpEF, heart failure with preserved ejection fraction, the most common and often hardest to treat type. Their findings, presented at the European Society of Cardiology Congress in Madrid and published in JAMA, are striking. Patients taking semaglutide, better known as Ozempic or Wegovy, were 42% less likely to be hospitalized or die prematurely compared with those on a placebo-equivalent diabetes drug. And those taking tirzepatide, sold as Mounjaro, saw that risk fall by 58%. In the world of cardiology, numbers like that don't come along often. Dr. Nils Kruger, the study's lead author from Brigham and Women's Hospital, called the results dramatic, saying the drugs may offer substantial benefits to patients with obesity and type 2 diabetes by reducing adverse heart failure outcomes. Until now, the connection between GLP-1s and heart health has been promising but not fully proven. Earlier studies hinted that these drugs might improve heart failure symptoms or cardiovascular risk factors, but they were too small to show a definitive effect on survival or hospitalizations. The study changed that. By drawing from 3 large U.S. insurance databases covering a population nearly 20 times larger than earlier trials, researchers were able to confirm that patients on GLP-1 therapy not only lost weight and improved blood sugar control, but also lived longer and spent less time in the hospital. Globally, more than 60 million people live with heart failure, including about 1 million in the UK and millions more in the US. For those with HFpEF, treatment options are limited. That's why cardiologists are calling the findings a good surprise. Dr. Carlos Aguilar, Vice President of the European Society of Cardiology, said the data show a benefit in using semaglutide or tirzepatide to reduce the risk of hospitalization for heart failure or all-cause mortality. He noted that while more evidence will be needed before these drugs can be formally recommended for heart failure patients, the results are very good. Other experts agree. Dr. Sonia Babu Narayan of the British Heart Foundation said the study adds to the growing body of evidence supporting a role for weight loss drugs for patients living with both heart failure and obesity. She emphasized that GLP-1 should complement and not replace established heart failure therapies alongside lifestyle changes like regular exercise and a balanced diet. The benefits of GLP-1 medications are increasingly extending far beyond weight management. In May, another major trial found that people taking semaglutide had a 20% lower risk of heart attack, stroke, or cardiovascular death, regardless of how much weight they lost. Together, these findings suggest that medications once developed purely for diabetes may soon reshape how doctors treat cardiovascular disease. For patients, the implications are profound. It means a weekly injection that helps control appetite might also help extend life. And for millions of people with heart failure who have struggled to find effective options, that's not just a medical breakthrough, it's a new sense of hope. So, GLP-1s work for heart disease, cardiac events, stroke, early death. Yes. all the
I have
things.
that history in my family, so that's a good thing. We
That
like
is a good
that.
thing.
That's basically what happened with my mother. So. Story number 9, in what British authorities are calling a major victory against illegal drug trafficking, the UK's first underground factory producing counterfeit weight loss injections has been shut down, and investigators say the scale of the operation was staggering. The Medicines and Healthcare Products Regulatory Agency, or the MHRA, working with Northamptonshire Police, uncovered the illicit manufacturing site during a 2-day raid in Northampton this week. Inside, they found thousands of unlicensed injectable pens labeled as retatrutide and tirzepatide, the active ingredients in Eli Lilly's Mounjaro and its next-generation obesity drug, which of course is still in clinical trials. Authorities say the discovery marks the largest single seizure of trafficked weight loss drugs ever recorded anywhere in the world. The MHRA said officers confiscated more than 2,000 counterfeit pens, tens of thousands of empty injector cartridges, large quantities of raw chemical ingredients, and sophisticated packaging and labeling machinery, all part of an operation designed to mimic legitimate pharmaceutical production. Investigators also found £20,000 in cash, which they believe was tied to the sale and shipment of illegal medicines. These products are untested, unauthorized, and potentially deadly, said Andy Morling, head of the MHRA's Criminal Enforcement Unit. People should be extremely cautious when buying medicines online and only purchase from registered pharmacies. Health Secretary Wes Streeting called the raid a victory in the fight against shameless criminals putting lives at risk, warning consumers, don't line the pockets of criminals who don't care about your health. Counterfeit drugs were packaged under the fake brand name Wegovy tirzepatide, designed to look like legitimate GLP medications. Authorities estimate the total haul was worth more than £250,000, a fraction of the booming black market for injectable weight loss drugs, which has surged alongside the global popularity of Mounjaro, Wegovy, and Ozempic. Officials say this operation wasn't a small-scale side business. It was a sophisticated criminal network producing industrial quantities of fake medication for sale online, some of which have already reached customers in the UK and abroad. This is an illicit global market that endangers patients, puts big money in the pockets of organized criminals, and undermines legitimate health care, Morling said. By taking this operation offline, we've prevented tens of thousands of potentially fatal products from entering circulation. The raid comes just months after Mounjaro became available through the UK's National Health Service, or the NHS, under tightly controlled conditions. The once-weekly injection is only prescribed to patients with a BMI of 40 or higher, or 37.5, for certain ethnic groups who also have at least 4 obesity-related conditions, such as type 2 diabetes, high blood pressure, heart disease, high cholesterol, or sleep apnea. The NHS requirements for the use of are very high, which is why the vast majority of people in the UK are not getting it through the NHS. They're working with a private doctor. That strict eligibility, as I said, combined with long waiting lists and high private market prices, has fueled a black market for GLP-1 medications, both online and through social media. For patients, the message is clear. Buying injectable medications outside a licensed pharmacy is dangerous. The ingredients in counterfeit pens may contain incorrect dosages, toxic fillers, or no active ingredient at all, putting lives at serious risk. The MHRA says the investigation is ongoing and expects additional arrests as part of a broader effort to target global networks producing fake GLP-1 drugs. So, this is the UK. The UK does not have legalized compounding like the US has. So these were some guys that set up a drug factory
and a printing press.
And got a bunch of injectable pens, because you can buy them from China, just the pens without the medication in it. And we're essentially assembling things and no one knows what was in them.
That's so frightening.
Tirzepatide and retatrutide, which obviously retatrutide is not available outside of a trial legally anywhere in the world, no matter what anybody tells you. Now, this is scary stuff.
Yeah, so please don't buy from the black market. It's too risky. You're injecting these things directly into your bloodstream.
These are prescription medications. Please work with your doctor and work with your pharmacy, whether it be in the US, the UK, India, it doesn't matter. The process is going to be the same there. All right, so that wraps up this edition of the Downsized News.
If you're looking for tools and ideas to help you on your GLP-1 adventure, visit thedownsized.org. You'll find links to our Downsized GLP-1 Amazon store, our separate Downsized email list, and our 2026 Downsized cruise. We are Amazon affiliates, so when you shop through our store, you're helping support our channel, and it doesn't cost you anything extra.
If you haven't yet, hit like, subscribe to The Downsized, and turn on the notifications bell so you don't miss our next video. We'll keep you posted on the latest GLP-1 news, explain the science in plain English, and share what's really happening in our own adventure. Join us and become part of the Downsized community. We'll see you next time.
I'm Lorraine Durham.
And I'm Christopher Durham, and we are The Downsized.